She filled in for her sick sister at the caf. The man at table 3 wasn't just a customer, he was the— Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic and heartwarming stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you so much. Now, let's dive into today's story. She filled in for her sick sister at the café. The man at table 3 wasn't just a customer, he was the— Emma never imagined that the man sitting across from her would turn out to be so much more than just another customer. The clinking of silverware and the soft hum of conversations filled the air of the small, bustling café. Emma shifted uncomfortably in her second-hand dress, her shoes a little too worn for the polished atmosphere. It wasn't the place she belonged, but she was there to help her sister. Her mind raced as she checked the clock. Her shift was almost over. It had been a long day, and she couldn't wait to get back to her small apartment, where rent was due and the bills piled up. But then her eyes landed on the man at table 3. He was sitting alone, dressed sharply in a sleek black suit. His dark hair was neatly styled, and he seemed engrossed in his phone. She took a deep breath and walked toward him, trying to shake off the awkwardness she felt in this fancy restaurant. "Hi, you must be Kevin?" she asked, forcing a bright smile. The man looked up, a brief moment of confusion on his face before he answered. Hi Emma," he said, blinking at her as if still processing the situation. Emma smiled awkwardly, assuming the silence was due to nerves. "I know, this is a bit awkward," she said quickly, sitting down. "Jenny told me you might be a little shy, so don't worry. I can talk enough for both of us." The man paused, then let out a small chuckle. "Right, blind dates are something else." Emma laughed nervously, feeling the tension melt away just a little. "Tell me about your job," she said, eager to fill the silence. "I'm a waitress," Emma added, fiddling with the napkin on the table. "Not glamorous, but it pays most of the bills." "What do you do?" The man hesitated for a second, as if deciding how much to share. "I work in tech," he said, his voice calm, but his eyes studied her with more intensity than she expected. She smiled. "That sounds cool. Apps and coding, right?" "I'm terrible with computers," she said, laughing a little. He smiled back but didn't say much, his attention drifting to his phone again. Emma didn't think much of it at the time. She assumed he was shy or distracted by work. She rambled on about her life, her dreams of opening her own art studio, the difficulties she faced trying to make ends meet, and how much she hated her day job at the caf. But it felt good to share her story with someone, especially someone who didn't seem to judge her. After a few moments, her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she checked the message. Her stomach dropped. It was from Jenny. Asterisk. "Where are you? I'm at table 7 waiting for you." Asterisk. Emma's heart sank as she read the message again. She looked up at the man across from her. "Oh my God," she whispered, her face turning red. "I'm so sorry, I sat at the wrong table. You're not Kevin." The man blinked at her, then smiled gently. "No, I'm not," he said, standing up. "But hey, it's okay." Emma stood up quickly, still embarrassed. "I really need to go. I'm so sorry for this." Without waiting for another word, she grabbed her coat and bolted for the door, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. Liam watched her leave, a mix of regret and curiosity swirling inside him. He hadn't meant to let her go so quickly, but there was something about her honesty, her vulnerability, that made him hesitate. He didn't know why, but the thought of not seeing her again bothered him more than it should. Back at her apartment, Emma collapsed on the couch, covering her face with a pillow. That was so embarrassing, she muttered to herself. Her roommate Jenny peeked over the edge of her laptop with a grin. "Bad date?" she asked, half laughing. Emma groaned. "I sat at the wrong table. I talked to some random guy for like 20 minutes thinking he was Kevin." Jenny laughed harder. "Sounds like a rom-com setup." Emma sighed and buried her face in the pillow. "I hope I never see him again." But Jenny raised an eyebrow. "You sure? You said he was nice." Emma paused, the memory of the man flashing in her mind. He had been nice, too nice. But it didn't matter. She'd made a fool of herself, and there was no way he would want to see her again. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. It's been a few days since that embarrassing mix-up at the caf, and Emma still couldn't shake the memory of the man she'd mistaken for a blind date. She had told herself that she'd never see him again, but part of her couldn't help wondering what might have happened if she hadn't run off so quickly. Could things have gone differently? Could he have been the kind of person who would have laughed it off? She shook her head, trying to push the thought aside. She had enough to worry about. Her rent was due, and her sister was still sick, leaving Emma to cover her shifts at the café. Life felt like it was spinning out of control. The only relief she had was the few quiet moments in her apartment when she could sit and sketch in her notebook, dreaming of one day opening her own art studio. But dreams felt far away, especially when she was struggling to get by. As Emma walked into the café for her shift the next morning, the familiar jingle of the doorbell greeted her. It was a typical weekday morning, busy with regular customers ordering their usual lattes and pastries. She tried to focus on the task at hand, wiping down tables and taking orders. But something about the atmosphere felt different today, like she was waiting for something, or someone. Her mind kept drifting back to the man at table 3. She hadn't realized it at the time, but there was something about him, something that had made her feel comfortable in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She couldn't explain it, but she had noticed the way he'd listened to her, the way he didn't seem to judge her, even when she rambled on about her dreams. She hadn't been expecting it. But all that was behind her now, and she had to focus on the present. It was just another busy day at the cafe. That was, until she saw him again. As she was walking past the tables with a tray of coffee, she noticed the man from table 3 sitting at the corner booth. He was staring at her, and for a moment she froze. Could it be? Her heart raced as he slowly stood up. "Hey, Emma," he said with a calm smile. She blinked, not quite sure how to respond. "Liam," she said slowly, recognizing him immediately. "I didn't expect to see you here." He smiled again, his eyes warm and friendly. "I know. I couldn't get you out of my head after our interesting first meeting." Emma's cheeks turned pink, and she nervously adjusted the apron around her waist. "I'm really sorry about that. I didn't mean to run off like that." Liam waved a hand dismissively. "It's no big deal. I was actually hoping to talk to you. I wanted to make it up to you." Emma felt a little taken aback. She hadn't expected him to actually want to see her again after that fiasco. "Make it up to me? You don't have to do that. It was my mistake." Liam's expression softened. "Actually, I think you might have done me a favor. You were the first person I've met in a while who didn't know who I was or care about what I do. You were just real." Emma felt a strange mix of relief and unease. "I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing," she said, laughing nervously. "But thank you." Liam smiled. "I mean it. It's hard to find people who aren't just interested in what I can do for them." It was refreshing to talk to someone who wasn't worried about that. She hesitated, not sure how to respond. "Well, it's not like I have much to offer," she said, glancing down at the table. "I'm just a waitress." Liam leaned forward slightly, his tone serious. "That's the thing. I think you have a lot more to offer than you realize. That's why I wanted to talk to you today." Emma looked at him, unsure of where this conversation was going. "What do you mean?" Liam hesitated for a moment, then spoke, his voice steady. "I'm a part of a foundation that helps people in creative fields get the support they need to build their dreams. I think you have the potential to do something amazing with your art, Emma. I want to help you make that happen." Emma blinked, unable to process what he was saying. "Help me? You want to help me?" Liam nodded. "Yes. I want to offer you an opportunity to work with the foundation. We provide mentorship, funding, and resources for artists like you who have the talent but not the means to get started." Emma's mind was racing. This was insane. Was this real? A part of her wanted to jump at the opportunity, but another part of her couldn't believe it. "I don't know what to say," she stammered. "This sounds too good to be true." Liam smiled. "It's not. It's real. And I wouldn't offer it if I didn't think you were capable of great things." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. This was everything she had ever dreamed of. But could she really accept help from someone she barely knew? She looked at Liam, searching his face for any hint of insincerity, but found none. He was genuine. She took a deep breath. "I'll think about it," she said softly. Liam nodded. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here whenever you're ready." Emma watched as Liam stood up and left the café, a swirl of emotions flooding her mind. She had been offered a chance at her dreams, something she never thought possible. But was she ready to take the leap? Time would tell. It had been a week since Emma had last seen Liam, and although she had tried to push the memory of their conversation aside, it lingered in the back of her mind. She had spent the last few days working extra hours at the café, juggling her sister's illness and her own financial struggles. It was a whirlwind, and the idea of an opportunity to pursue her art still felt like a distant dream, something she wasn't sure she could reach. But then, that morning, Emma received a text from Liam. "Hey, I hope you're doing well. I'd love to talk more about the opportunity I mentioned. Let me know when you have time." Her heart skipped a beat. She had been trying to forget about it, but deep down, she knew she couldn't ignore this chance. The message had been simple, but it was enough to stir something inside her. That afternoon, after finishing her shift at the café, Emma sat on the bus ride home, her mind racing. What if this was the turning point she had been waiting for? But she couldn't shake the doubts. Was she ready for this? Was she really the kind of artist Liam thought she was? And if she accepted his offer, what would it mean for her life? It wasn't just about pursuing her dreams, it was about trusting someone she barely knew, someone who had more power and wealth than she could ever imagine. As she walked through the door of her small apartment, Emma's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a voicemail from Liam. "Hey Emma, it's Liam. I just wanted to check in and see if you'd had a chance to think about the opportunity. No pressure, just wanted to make sure you had all the info you needed. Call me when you can. Take care." Emma stared at her phone, her finger hovering over the screen. This was it. The decision was hers to make. She had to choose between continuing her everyday life, struggling to make ends meet, or stepping into something unknown, something that could change everything. After a few minutes of internal debate, she made up her mind. She called Liam back. His voice sounded warm and familiar when he answered. "Hey, Emma. I'm so glad you called. How are you?" "I'm good," she said, though her nerves were beginning to show. "I've been thinking about what you said, and I think I'd like to take you up on the offer. I'm just not sure where to start." Liam's voice softened. "I'm glad to hear that. You're not alone in this, Emma. We'll be with you every step of the way. If you're ready, we can meet tomorrow and go over everything. I want to make sure you have all the support you need." Emma's heart raced. This was real. He wasn't just offering her a handout, he was offering her a chance to take control of her future. She agreed to meet him the next day. When Emma walked into the café the next morning, she couldn't help but feel a little out of place. For the first time in a long while, she felt like something big was about to happen. She could barely concentrate on her usual routine as she anxiously waited for Liam. As the clock ticked down, she saw him enter the café. He walked in with the same easy confidence she remembered, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on her. "Emma," he said, giving her a smile that made her stomach flutter. "It's great to see you." "You too," she replied, forcing herself to smile back, though she could feel the nervous energy surging through her. Liam motioned for her to follow him as they sat at a quiet corner table. He wasted no time, pulling out a folder from his briefcase and laying it in front of her. "This is everything you need to know," he said, opening the folder. "I've set up a meeting with the Foundation's director next week, and we'll start the process of getting you the mentorship and resources you need." Emma's eyes widened as she looked at the papers in front of her. She had read about art grants before, but she never imagined she'd be in a position to apply for one. This is incredible," she said, barely able to contain her excitement. "I didn't think it would happen this fast." Liam smiled, his eyes twinkling with sincerity. "We move quickly when we find someone who has potential. And I believe you have that, Emma. Your art, your passion, it's exactly what we're looking for." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She had worked so hard for so long, and now it felt like everything was finally coming together. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice catching. "I don't know how to repay you," Liam chuckled. "No need to repay me. This is just the beginning, Emma. You're going to do amazing things, and I'm here to help you get there." The conversation continued for a while longer, discussing the specifics of the program and what Emma could expect in the coming weeks. But as they talked, Emma realized something. It wasn't just about the opportunity. It was about the trust Liam had placed in her, the belief that she could do something bigger than she had ever imagined. She had always felt like an outsider, like her dreams were too big for her life. But now, with Liam's help, she finally felt like she had a chance. As she left the café later that day, Emma felt a sense of determination she hadn't felt in years. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was for sure: she wasn't going to let fear hold her back anymore. This was her time to take control of her future, and nothing was going to stop her. It had been 2 weeks since Emma had decided to take Liam up on his offer. Things were moving quickly, and every day felt like a new step toward a future she had only ever dreamed of. Her life had changed so drastically, she hardly recognized it anymore. Liam had kept his word. He introduced her to the Foundation's director, a kind woman named Sarah, who immediately took a liking to Emma's art. Sarah had arranged for her to attend an art workshop, providing the mentorship she needed to refine her skills. Emma was overwhelmed with gratitude but still struggled with the imposter syndrome that nagged at her. Was she really good enough for this? The foundation's resources were helping her find her voice as an artist, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that maybe she didn't belong in this world of wealth and success. It didn't help that every time she saw Liam, she was reminded of how different their worlds were. He was successful, confident, and constantly surrounded by people who knew him. He had given her everything she needed to succeed, but Emma still couldn't quite wrap her mind around it. One evening, after another exhausting day of workshops and planning for an upcoming art exhibit, Emma found herself sitting at a small café again. She was alone, a cup of coffee in front of her, but her mind was racing. The past 2 weeks had been a whirlwind, and she hadn't had much time to herself. The door chimed as it opened, and she looked up, half expecting to see one of the regulars from the café. But then she froze. It was Liam. He walked toward her with that same easy smile, but this time, there was something different about him. He was dressed casually in jeans and a button-up shirt, but his presence was still commanding. "Emma," he said, his voice warm as he sat down across from her. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Emma blinked, still not used to seeing him outside of the professional settings they'd met in. "Not at all," she said, a little surprised. "What brings you here?" Liam smiled, his eyes softening. "I just thought I'd stop by and see how things are going. You've been so busy with the workshops, I wanted to check in." Emma smiled faintly, still feeling a little nervous around him. "Things are going well, I think. It's just a lot to take in, you know." Liam nodded. "I can imagine. It's a big change. But you're handling it better than most would. I can see your growth already." Emma shifted uncomfortably. "I still don't know if I belong in all of this. I mean, you have all these people around you, people who've been doing this for years. And then there's me, just starting out, still figuring things out, it feels overwhelming." Liam listened quietly, his gaze steady. "I get it. But that's why I believe in you, Emma. You're not just an artist, you're someone who's not afraid to take risks and learn. That's what sets you apart." She looked at him, not sure how to respond. "But I don't feel like I'm doing enough. There's always so much more I could be doing, and I'm afraid I'll fall short." Liam reached across the table, his hand resting gently on hers. "You're not alone in this. And you're not falling short. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing. Take it one step at a time. No one expects perfection from you, not even yourself." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. The words were comforting, but still, doubt lingered in her mind. She had always been her harshest critic, and even with all the opportunities in front of her, she couldn't shake the fear that she was destined to fail. "I'm scared," she whispered, barely audible. "I'm scared that I'm not cut out for this. That maybe I'll disappoint everyone." Liam squeezed her hand reassuringly. "It's okay to be scared. Everyone is. The difference is that you're taking action, and that's what matters. Fear is just a part of the journey." For the first time in a long while, Emma felt a sense of peace. Liam wasn't just offering her opportunities or resources, he was offering something deeper, something she hadn't realized she needed: belief. He believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of his words settling in. Emma felt her heart lighten, and for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to think that maybe, just maybe, she could do this. "Thank you," she said softly, looking up at him. "I don't think I've said it enough, but thank you for everything." Liam smiled, his expression genuine and kind. "You don't need to thank me. I'm just here to help you get where you're meant to be." The rest of the evening passed by in a blur of conversation and laughter. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. She didn't have all the answers yet, and the road ahead was still uncertain, but she was ready to take the next step. Whatever came next, she would face it head-on, with the belief that she could succeed. And maybe, just maybe, with Liam by her side, she would find the courage to chase her dreams. Weeks passed since Emma had taken her first steps into the art world with the support of Liam and the foundation. She had already begun to see her growth as an artist, but there were still days when self-doubt crept in. Yet every time she felt unsure, she remembered Liam's words, asterisk. "You're doing exactly what you need to be doing, asterisk." It was a small comfort, but it kept her moving forward. The art exhibit she had been preparing for was just around the corner, and Emma had been working tirelessly to complete her pieces. It wasn't easy, and she had spent countless hours in the studio, sometimes late into the night. Each brushstroke was a reminder of how far she had come, but also of the fear that still lingered in the back of her mind. What if people didn't like her work? What if they saw her as just another amateur pretending to be something she wasn't? She was so caught up in these thoughts that she barely noticed the time passing. The night of the exhibit arrived, and the gallery was buzzing with people. It was everything she had hoped for and more, but the anxiety gnawing at her still wouldn't let go. She stood in the corner of the room, trying to blend in as she observed the crowd. Everyone seemed so confident, and there she was, just a waitress turned artist, still struggling to feel like she belonged. The moment she had been dreading arrived when a woman approached her, a polite smile on her face. "Your work is stunning," the woman said, her voice smooth and professional. "I'm actually a curator for a gallery in the city, and I'd love to talk to you about showcasing your pieces." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. A professional curator wanted to feature her work? This was everything she had dreamed of. But as the woman spoke, Emma couldn't help but feel a little lost. Asterisk. Was I ready for this? Was my art really that good? Asterisk. Just as Emma was about to respond, she felt a familiar presence next to her. She turned to see Liam, his easy smile lighting up the room as he approached her. "I thought I'd find you here," he said, his voice calm and reassuring. "How's it going?" Emma tried to smile, but she could feel her nerves creeping back. I just had a conversation with the curator from that gallery, and I think she's interested in my work. It's just all happening so fast." Liam's expression softened, and he placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "That's a good thing, Emma. This is what you've been working for. You deserve this, and you're ready." She looked up at him, seeing the genuine belief in his eyes. His words sank in, and for the first time that night she felt a little lighter. Asterisk. Maybe he was right. Maybe she was ready. Asterisk. As the night continued, Emma found herself engaging more with the people who stopped by her artwork. The nervousness that had held her back slowly faded as she shared the stories behind her pieces. It felt good to talk about her journey, about everything she had overcome to get to this point. By the end of the night, she was smiling. It wasn't just because the event had been a success, or because people were interested in her work. It was because she had finally started to believe in herself. Liam found her later in the evening, standing by one of her paintings, a smile on his face. "How are you holding up?" he asked. Emma beamed, feeling a sense of accomplishment she hadn't expected. "I think I'm starting to get it. I'm really starting to believe I can do this." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "I knew you could. You've come so far, Emma. You've worked hard for this." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest. She had come so far in such a short amount of time, and now, as she looked around the gallery, she realized that she had achieved something she never thought possible. But this was just the beginning. There were still challenges ahead, still fears to face, but for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she had the strength to overcome them. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "I never would have gotten here without you." Liam chuckled lightly, shaking his head. "You did all the work, Emma. I just gave you a little push. The rest was all you." Emma smiled, feeling her heart swell with gratitude. It was true she had come a long way, but she knew that without Liam's belief in her, she might still be stuck in the same place she had been before. She looked around the gallery once more, taking in the beautiful space that now held her art. This was her moment, her new beginning. She was no longer just the girl working at the café, she was an artist. And this was only the start of her journey. Months passed since the art exhibit, and Emma's life had continued to transform in ways she never could have imagined. The success of her exhibit opened up doors she never thought possible, and now, her art was being featured in galleries across the city. The curator who had shown interest in her work came through, offering her a permanent spot at a prestigious art gallery, and with that came the support she needed to take her art to the next level. The recognition was overwhelming, but in the best way possible. Emma's dreams were no longer distant hopes. They were becoming her reality. But with success came the pressure to keep up, to constantly create, to always be at the top of her game. Emma found herself working harder than ever, pushing herself to explore new techniques, new styles, and constantly expanding her portfolio. There were days when it felt like she was running on empty, when the exhaustion weighed her down, but she kept going, knowing that this was her moment. Through it all, Liam had been by her side, offering support, advice, and encouragement. Their friendship had deepened over time, and as Emma's career flourished, so did their bond. Liam had always been there for her, but lately, she began to wonder if there was something more between them. The lines between friendship and something deeper had started to blur. She found herself thinking about him more than usual, feeling a sense of warmth whenever they spent time together. But as much as she cherished their friendship, Emma was afraid to acknowledge the feelings that had been growing inside her. Was it possible that Liam, the man who had helped her achieve her dreams, could feel the same way? She didn't want to risk ruining the connection they shared, but the more time they spent together, the more she realized that her feelings for him weren't just admiration, they were something more. One evening, after a long day at the studio, Emma received a call from Liam. He invited her to dinner at a small restaurant he knew, a quiet place where they could talk without distractions. Emma agreed, feeling a flutter of excitement in her chest. As she arrived at the restaurant, she noticed that Liam was already waiting for her at a corner table. He looked up as she entered and smiled, his warm eyes locking with hers. "You look amazing," he said, standing up to greet her. "Thank you," Emma replied, her voice soft, though her heart was racing. They sat down, and for a few moments, the two of them simply enjoyed the quiet comfort of each other's company. They talked about their work, the challenges they were facing, and the successes they had achieved. But as the evening went on, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. The way Liam was looking at her, the way he smiled when she laughed, it was as if there was something more behind his gaze. Finally, after a pause in the conversation, Liam leaned forward slightly, his expression serious but gentle. "Emma," he said softly, "there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while now." Emma's heart skipped a beat, her mind racing with possibilities. Was this it? Was he about to say what she thought he was going to say? "What is it?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Liam took a deep breath, his eyes never leaving hers. "I care about you, Emma. I care about you in a way that goes beyond just helping you with your career. I've always believed in you, but it's more than that. I think you're incredible, and I'm starting to realize that. I want more than just friendship with you." Emma's breath caught in her throat. The words she had been afraid to hear, the words that had been building inside her for months, were finally out in the open. She felt a rush of emotions, relief, excitement, and a little bit of fear, but most of all, she felt the weight of what this moment meant. "Liam," she whispered, her voice shaking, "I feel the same way. I've been trying to ignore it, but I can't anymore." There was a long pause as the two of them simply looked at each other, the weight of their feelings hanging between them. Finally, Liam reached across the table and took her hand in his touch warm and reassuring. "I don't want to push you, Emma. I know this is a big change for both of us, but I want to be honest with you. I've always been here for you, and I will be, no matter what happens." Emma nodded, a smile slowly spreading across her face. "I want that too, Liam. I want to see where this goes." The rest of the evening passed by in a blur of laughter and conversation, but Emma's heart was lighter than it had been in months. For the first time, she felt like she was truly ready to embrace the next chapter of her life, not just as an artist, but as someone who had someone by her side, someone who believed in her as much as she believed in herself. As she left the restaurant later that night, Liam by her side, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt before. Her journey wasn't just about achieving her dreams, it was about finding love and support along the way, and she was ready to embrace whatever came next, with Liam by her side. It had been a few weeks since Emma and Liam had taken their relationship to the next level, and things between them felt effortless. They spent their days together, balancing their professional lives with personal moments that felt more and more natural. Liam had become her biggest supporter, not just in her career but in life. He was there for her when things got tough, when she doubted herself, and when the weight of her success began to feel overwhelming. With Liam by her side, she began to believe in herself more than ever before. However, even as their relationship blossomed, Emma couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was still missing. Her career had soared beyond her expectations. Her art was being showcased in major galleries, and she had the support of Liam in the foundation. Yet, there were days when Emma would wake up with an empty feeling, as if there was more to life than just art and recognition. She had always dreamed of making a difference in the world, of creating something that not only fulfilled her but could also inspire others. It wasn't just about selling paintings or gaining fame. It was about leaving a legacy, something that could help others. One evening, as they sat in a cozy cafe, sipping coffee and chatting about their days, Emma turned to Liam, a thoughtful expression on her face. Liam, do you ever feel like there's more to life than just the work we do? She asked quietly, her voice serious. He looked up from his coffee, his brow furrowed in curiosity. What do you mean? He asked, sensing that something was on her mind. Emma hesitated, unsure how to express the emptiness she was feeling. I don't know. It's just. Everything's going so well, but I still feel like something's missing. Like, I've achieved everything I've set out to do in my career, but I don't feel complete. Liam was quiet for a moment, thinking carefully before responding. I get what you mean. Sometimes, even when everything looks perfect on the outside, we're left wondering if there's something more we should be doing. Emma nodded, her eyes dropping to her coffee cup. I want to make a real difference, Liam. I want to create art that inspires people, but also give back. I feel like I've been so focused on my own success that I've forgotten about the bigger picture. Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. I think that's exactly what makes you different, Emma, he said softly. You have a heart that wants to do more than just succeed. You want to make the world a better place, and I believe you can do that. Emma looked up at him, her heart swelling with affection. She knew he was right. She had always believed that art could change the world, but somewhere along the way, she had gotten caught up in the pursuit of personal success. What she needed now was a way to merge her passion for art with her desire to help others. It was time to take a step beyond her personal goals and focus on a greater purpose. Over the next few weeks, Emma worked on a new project that combined her art with her desire to give back. She began organizing charity art auctions, donating a portion of the proceeds to support young artists in underprivileged communities. She also reached out to local schools, offering free art classes to children who didn't have access to the same resources she had growing up. The project quickly gained momentum, and before long, Emma was being recognized not just for her art, but for the difference she was making in the community. One evening, as she was leaving the gallery after another successful auction, Emma was greeted by Liam, who had been with her every step of the way. I'm so proud of you, Emma, he said, his voice filled with admiration. You've found your purpose. Emma smiled, her heart full. I couldn't have done it without you, she said, squeezing his hand. You believed in me from the beginning, and now I finally feel like I'm making a difference. Liam smiled back, his eyes warm with affection. You've always had it in you, Emma. I just gave you a little push. The rest was all you. As they walked out of the gallery together, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. She had found her balance, her purpose, and the love of her life. With Liam by her side, she knew that no matter what challenges the future held, she was ready to face them head-on. For the first time in a long while, Emma felt complete. She had finally discovered what truly mattered to her, creating art that changed lives and giving back to the community that had supported her from the beginning. It wasn't just about success, it was about making a lasting impact, one piece of art at a time. It had been several months since Emma had begun giving back to the community through her art. The charity auctions and free art classes were becoming a staple of her life, and she felt an immense sense of fulfillment from knowing her work was making a difference. Her art had always been her passion, but now it was more than just a personal pursuit. It was a way to connect with people, to help others find their voice through creativity. Every day felt like a new opportunity to make an impact, and for the first time in her life, Emma truly felt like she was living her purpose. Yet, even with all the success, there were moments when the weight of everything would hit her all at once. The pressure to keep up with her commitments, the responsibility of being a role model for young artists, and the constant balancing act between her personal life and work sometimes felt like too much to bear. It was in those moments, when the exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, that Liam would be there, as steady and constant as ever. He had always believed in her, even when she doubted herself, and now, he was her rock, her support system. They had grown closer over the months, their bond becoming stronger as they navigated the ups and downs of life together. One afternoon, as Emma was working in her studio, she received a text from Liam. Asterisk. I was thinking we should take a break this weekend, maybe go away for a couple of days. Just you and me. No work, no distractions. Asterisk. Emma smiled at the message. She hadn't realized how much she needed a break until she read those words. The constant hustle had been wearing her down, and she realized that, while her work was important, she had been neglecting herself. It was time to step away and recharge. She quickly replied, asterisk. That sounds perfect. I'd love to. Asterisk. The weekend arrived, and Emma and Liam set off for a quiet retreat in the mountains. They rented a small cabin, far away from the city, where the only sounds were the rustling of the trees and the chirping of birds. It was exactly what Emma needed, a peaceful escape from the chaos of everyday life. For the first time in months, she felt her mind begin to relax, the weight on her shoulders lifting just a little. They spent their days hiking through the trails, enjoying the beauty of nature, and their evenings cooking dinner together and talking by the fire. It wasn't extravagant, but it was perfect in its simplicity. It was just them, with no expectations or pressures, just a chance to be in the moment. One evening, as they sat on the porch of the cabin, watching the sun set over the mountains, Liam turned to Emma, his expression serious but gentle. "I've been thinking about something," he said softly. Emma looked at him, curiosity piqued. "What's that?" she asked. Liam took a deep breath, as if gathering his thoughts. "I know we've been through a lot together, and I've seen how much you've grown. You've built something incredible with your art, and I'm so proud of you. But I've also seen how hard you've worked, how much you've given, and how sometimes you forget to take care of yourself. I want to make sure you're always looking after you too." Emma was silent for a moment, taking in his words. She had always been so focused on her work, on helping others, that she hadn't realized how much she was neglecting her own well-being. "I know you're right," she said quietly. "I've been so focused on giving to others that I forgot to give to myself." Liam reached over and took her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "You can't pour from an empty cup, Emma. You have to take care of yourself first so you can keep helping others, and I'm here to support you, no matter what." Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had always known Liam cared about her, but hearing him say these words made her realize just how deeply he understood her. It was more than just love, it was a partnership. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Liam smiled, his eyes soft with affection. "You don't have to worry about that. We're in this together, always." The next day, as they drove back to the city, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew there was still work to be done, still more lives to touch with her art. But she also knew that she had to take care of herself in order to continue that work. The weekend away had been a reminder that self-care wasn't selfish, it was essential. And with Liam by her side, she felt ready to take on whatever came next. As they pulled into the city, Emma looked out the window, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She had everything she needed right now, her passion, her purpose, and the love and support of the man who had always believed in her. As Emma settled back into her routine after the peaceful weekend with Liam, she couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of balance in her life. The break had given her the space she needed to reflect, to realize that taking care of herself was just as important as her art and the impact she was trying to make in the world. It wasn't always easy to find that balance, but she was learning, one day at a time. Her charity work continued to grow, and her art was evolving in ways she had never imagined. She was starting to find new techniques that allowed her to express herself more fully, and the response from the community was overwhelmingly positive. People were coming to her for guidance, for inspiration, and for a chance to find their own voice through art. Emma realized that, in a way, her success had opened doors for others as well. She wasn't just creating art anymore. She was creating opportunities, creating spaces for others to explore their creativity and grow. Her heart swelled with pride every time she saw a young artist discover their potential, and she knew that this was the legacy she wanted to leave behind. One afternoon, as she was preparing for a new exhibition, Emma received a message that would change everything. It was from the foundation that had supported her from the very beginning. They had seen her growth, the impact she had made on the community, and they wanted to offer her a bigger platform, a chance to collaborate with other artists on a nationwide project aimed at using art to bring about social change. The message was clear. Asterisk. We believe you are ready to take the next step, and we want you to lead this initiative. Asterisk. Emma stared at the screen, her heart racing. This was the opportunity she had always dreamed of, but now there was a new level of responsibility that came with it. The stakes were higher, and the pressure was intense. But as she thought about everything she had accomplished, about how far she had come from that nervous waitress in the café, she realized she was ready. She had the experience, the passion, and the support she needed to take this next step. She picked up the phone and called Liam. "I got the message," she said, her voice a mix of excitement and nervousness. "They want me to lead a nationwide project. It's a huge opportunity, but I don't know if I'm ready for that." Liam's voice was steady, as always. "Emma, You've been ready for this since the moment you picked up your first paintbrush. You've worked harder than anyone I know, and you've made a real difference. This is just the beginning of what you're capable of." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she whispered. Liam chuckled softly. "You'd do exactly what you've always done, create something amazing. And I'll be right here, supporting you every step of the way." Emma smiled, feeling the weight of his words settle in her heart. She wasn't alone in this journey. With Liam by her side, she could face anything. The decision was made. She accepted the offer from the foundation and began preparing for the next phase of her journey. The project was challenging, but it was also the most rewarding thing she had ever done. Working with other artists, coming together to create something that could truly make a difference in the world, it was everything she had wanted, and more. As the project gained momentum, Emma found herself more inspired than ever. She was no longer just creating art for herself, she was creating art for the world. She saw the power of art to bring people together, to spark conversation, and to change lives. She knew that she had found her calling, and it was bigger than anything she had ever imagined. Months later, as Emma stood in front of the crowd at the final exhibition of the nationwide project, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The event was a massive success, with people from all walks of life coming together to celebrate the power of art to inspire social change. As she looked around at the faces in the crowd, she realized that this was what it had all been, for this was the impact she had always dreamed of making. And as she turned to look at Liam, standing by her side, she knew that she had not only achieved her dreams, but had built something that would last long after the exhibition was over. Together, they had created a future where art was a force for good, a force that could change the world. Emma had come a long way from the shy waitress who doubted herself. She had found her purpose, her passion, and her place in the world. And with Liam by her side, she knew that the journey was only just beginning.